Yo, what's up guys, Jadeon and welcome to DesignsAcademy. Today's going to be part 2 of the part 6 series for the city destruction tutorials. It's going to be a very short one, to be honest with you guys. It's not a tutorial worth of a tutorial worthy. The reason I say that is because it's going to be really short. Now the reason I'm doing it is because it is a part of the series and part of the history of events that I had to do in order to do that. So I'm going to do this really quick, get this out of the way. So if you guys are interested, make sure you keep on watching. If you're not, I have no problem with you guys leaving. But with all that said guys, let's begin. So today we'll be doing color correction and color grading for our pre-production. Now pre-production editing is crucial to having a substantial look, because when you do pre-production you have to make sure everything that you do is going to be how you want it later on. Now the good thing with After Effects is pre-production is usually editable if you use the layer plugins. And by layer plugins, I mean when you use the pre-compositions, and that's when you pre-compose your compositions into one, because you can edit them and all that cool stuff. So that's why After Effects is a very big plus side. Now there are going to be things that occur that will reduce the amount of ethnicity that your actual thing will do. Like, it's hard to explain because you won't be able to do as much sometimes in post-production as you'll be doing later on, but it's always good to get it out of the way before anything else. So if you guys look at the clip we have here, you can download this from the videocodepilot.com. I'll link you guys down below. The video is originally from the city destruction tutorial that is on Video Code Pilot on YouTube, so I'll link you to that as well. Really good tutorial. Really encourage you guys to watch it. It's really cool. Get it done. That's basically what mine was. Only I'm not giving a tutorial on that. I'm giving you a tutorial on everything else he did, because it was it was a substantial tutorial and he couldn't cover everything. So I'm gonna do what he didn't. And don't get me wrong, it was a perfect tutorial. Everything he said he was gonna teach you, he taught you and more. So big shout out to him. So now we're actually gonna start. So I always like creating a adjustment layer first. So to do that, I'm just gonna right click down here and go to new and go to adjustment layer. And I always go to effect and go to color correction. You have a whole bunch of things here you could use, obviously, but we're gonna stay to the branch and we're going to go to curves. Now curves isn't really anything you have to be a wizard on, but it's good to know. So you got RGB, you also have them in its own playground. So you have red, green, and blue for their own kind of like environment, and then you have alpha, which is the premature kind of look to how much it actually does anything. So you got red, green, blue. Now I think there's too much green personally, so I would like to reduce the amount of green. So in order to do that, we're gonna go to green, and I'm just gonna bring it down a little bit. Boom, boom, and that's basically all we have to do. To be honest, I mean that's the green's perfect now. But there's still a little bit more color correction to complete with the curves. So I'm going to go back to RGB, and I'm going to set this to go a nice high contrast and a nice low contrast for the shadows. Now I honestly think it's a little too dark, so I'm going to up the higher contrast, so it's like that, and I'm going to bring this down farther, but I'm going to bring it up a little bit right there. So there we go. I think it looks pretty good personally. I'm not going to mess with red or blue, only because there's nothing wrong with them. There might be a little too much blue over here, but that's not what anyone's gonna be paying attention to. Plus we still have post-production, is what we're doing. Post-production, pre-production, we'll do that later, so that's cool. So now we're gonna do a little bit more color correction, and we're gonna go to brightness and contrast. I'm gonna put this above the curves, that way it affects the curves and the curves don't affect it. So I'm gonna get that out of the way. So I'm gonna bring up the brightness a little bit, so like right about there. So now it looks a little bit more pure, and I'm going to increase the contrast only a smidge, because the curves already did most of the contrast job, so we're good there. So I'm gonna bring it up a smidge. That way you just get like a little popping feeling. And then one more thing for the color correction panel is going to be exposure. Now exposure is a very broad kind of channel, because it's is basically straight from it's straight from aperture, and aperture is the amount of light. So it's very broad. It literally just brightens your scene, but it's a smart filter. So it looks for the bright and it looks for the dark, and it just darkens the dark and opens the bright. It's a very, very broad thing, but it's still useful. We're going to put this above the curves and keep it under the brightness and contrast. And we're going to bring up the exposure just a bit, to make it look like it's more pure. Like, I love more things that look more pure. I think it looks pretty cool. And as you can see, when you put that on, it brightens the bright part and then darkens the dark. That's why exposure is like pretty cool. I don't think there's any other color correction in the color correction panel that actually does that. Now, no one's really gonna care about that. I just think it's pretty cool personally, and everyone knows that I'm for those stupid effects. So now we got gamma correction and offset. Now the rest, these two things aren't really need to know, but offset basically is the white balance. So you bring that up, the more white it is, the more you go down, the darker and blacker it is. Gamma correction is the brightness, aperture level, f-stop. So that's how much light you're letting in. That's the exposure amount. That is the exposure brightness. So if I up this 50%, it's going to be too much. If I bring it down 50%, will be too low. And that's that. And then you can do bypass color or bypass linear light, and that's basically just for like actual vibrant colors that you don't want to be in there. We don't have to worry about that. So that's the main color adjustments. So if you look at it with it, it looks a lot better. Looks a lot more cooler in my opinion, and it just gives it a better feel. And later on, we'll be doing a little bit more color correction in the future with this. Obviously, this is what you want it to look like beforehand. We're gonna do one more thing, and then we're pretty much finished. So we're gonna go to new, and we're gonna go to solid. Now this part is going to be this part is going to be definitely 100% just your opinion. If you like it or you don't have to do this part. So we're gonna call this optical flares. Actually, I'm gonna call it optical texture. There we go. And you're gonna need the Video Copilot's Optical Flares plugin installed. I'll link that down below. I have a couple of tutorials on how to use that and where to stuff like that, so you can check those out as well. But we're not gonna be doing anything special. We're honestly just putting a texture on. So you let that load in, and you go to options. And you don't have to worry about anything on here. Actually, you could just get rid of this whole thing. So I'm just going to clear all, yeah. And I'm going to go to texture image and put it to a cool one. Excuse me, I just got finished eating. But yeah, we're just gonna look for something that's just, you know, I kind of like smudgy, but it's our spastastic. I want to try smudgy though. That's too much. I see. Yeah. I'm just basically looking for a lens effect. That way it looks like it's like an actual lens. So we have a sky cam. So I'm gonna put it spastastic. Excuse me. And I'm gonna bring down the brightness and the fall off as well. So I'm gonna bring down the brightness, boom, and the fall off is going to be right there. It's perfect, I guess. And I mean, that's pretty good. So after that, you're just gonna press OK, and then you have this. I'm gonna right click and go to blending mode and set it to screen. Now, as you can tell, it's really not, this can't even be called color correction, but it does add highlights and stuff places, and it definitely is there to give you a look. It doesn't really do anything right now, but if you were to add this on SQL editing, then you would know a substantial amount of different things going on. So that's been today's tutorial. I apologize, it wasn't that much exciting. I tried to make it as long and, you know, cool as possible, but there was really nothing to it. But like I said, it was part of the series, and I wanted to get it done. So that's part 2 of the part 6 Destruction City tutorial. Like I said before, if you guys want to actually watch a real tutorial with City Destruction, make sure you check the links down below for Video Copilot's City Destruction tutorial on their YouTube page, Video Copilot. Everything I had here will be down below as well, so that includes optical flares, and that's basically it, and the link to where you get this footage. Alright guys, it's been Jaden. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm out. Peace.